In this episode, we are tearing down the CFMOTO 800 metric tons engine. The 800MT uses the same engine, and of course, I will definitely bring in the KTM 790 for a comparison. I have a teardown video of the 790, but I haven't posted it yet. First, let's look at the clutch. It's a FCC clutch from Japan. It features an anodic oxidation process. The small bearings inside are also NTN from Japan. The shot isn't very clear. Ever since the 250 SR, CFMOTO has been using FCC clutches. As for the bearings, they consistently use NTN from Japan. The clutch basket, the aluminum part is also anodized. I was supposed to tear down this 800 metric tons first. But then, this bike was taken by another media colleague for a trip to Xinjiang. Then it arrived at Haishi. The 800 metric tons arrived at the shop first. The KO 450 arrived later. Alright, let's take a look at the cylinder head. Comparing it to the KTM 790, has it been downgraded? Or is it taken directly from the KTM 790? Let's find out. So many riders want to see the materials used in this engine. So, I had the audacity to ask the manufacturer for an engine. Look at the balancer shaft on the camshaft. Usually, we talk about adding balancer shafts to the crankshaft. But look at this thing. I should say KTM added a balancer shaft to the camshaft. Okay, the camshaft is out. It's an alloy steel camshaft. Alloy steel camshaft. You could call it a forged camshaft. Is the KTM one the same? Don't worry, there will be a detailed comparison at the end. Look, these are finger followers, rocker arms. You should be familiar with these rocker arms. If you follow my work, you'd know. They are interchangeable with the 390 rocker arms. Now, everyone, look at this. The oil jet for the rocker arm and camshaft. This is why I strongly recommend warming up your bike, especially in cold weather. Look at the diameter of this tiny nozzle. It's about the thickness of a utility knife blade. Plus, this engine requires high viscosity oil. So, when it's particularly cold, and the oil is thick during a cold start, it's difficult for it to spray onto the cam lobes and rockers. That's why you see KTM 790s with worn-out rocker arms. For those with this rocker arm structure, you must be careful, including the KO 450. Let's check the valves. The valves look fine. I'll compare them with the KTM 790 in a bit. From this angle, the piston looks forged. Don't jump to conclusions yet. After the comparison video, everything will be clear to you. Removing the oil pan. The filter is located right here. This is an internal filter. Remove the two small side cover screws to replace this filter. It's exactly the same as the KTM 790. This here is the oil pump, essentially the heart of the engine. And this is the balancer shaft. Take a look at CFMOTO's fracture split connecting rods. After sales service has used these rods since 2019. The fit is incredible, right? The seam between the upper and lower parts of the rod is almost invisible. This engine's crankshaft has a 285-degree offset. This is different from the 270-degree crank on the CFMOTO 450. BMW's twin-cylinder engines also use this crank angle. Now, this is impressive. Look at this crankshaft. It's a one-piece forged alloy steel crankshaft. I initially thought CFMOTO might downgrade the hardware when they adopted the 790 engine. Turns out they didn't. Look at these bearings. Daido copper-based bearings from Japan. Remove the countershaft and check the bearings. On this side, they use SKF bearings from Sweden. On the other side, they use NTN needle roller bearings from Japan. Pulling out the piston. Confirmed, it is a forged piston. But it's a bit different from the older 800 metric tons pistons. I'll explain in detail in a moment. Let's start the comparison directly. The cylinders are made of aluminum alloy. The surface of aluminum alloy cylinders is coated, so its wear resistance and heat dissipation are better than cast iron liners. Look at the KTM 790 here. It's the same. The 790 cylinder was scuffed, so it was resleeved with a centrifugal cast iron sleeve. That's why the magnet sticks to it. Now you can see the cylinder sleeve, right? Right here, look. This 790 cylinder was badly scuffed. Resleeving was the only option. Now, for KTM, BMW, Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha. Their twins and inline fours all use aluminum alloy cylinders. The Honda CB500 is an exception. Let's look at the crankshafts. It's hard to tell which one is KTM and which is CFMOTO. These two are actually identical. Both are high-strength alloy steel. One-piece forged crankshafts. This one belongs to the KTM 790. This one belongs to the CFMOTO 800 metric tons. The only difference seems to be the CNC machining tool marks. The marks on the 790 are more obvious. Just admire these two crankshafts for a moment. The material of these cranks is top tier. If you're used to seeing cast iron cranks, these are quite eye-catching. Next, the cylinder heads. The structure is exactly the same. I suspect they're the same part, just with different markings. Let's see if there's any difference in the rocker arms. For convenience, I'll remove the KTM 790 rocker arm for comparison. Look at this. Aren't they identical? The craftsmanship and part numbering style are exactly the same. We can basically say they are equal. Now, let's look at the valves. This 790 had its cylinder head smashed. These are its valves. Bring them over for comparison. See? They're the same. Both are marked with HL. At this point, it feels like we're comparing two of the same engine side by side. Turning on the flash for the crank looks even shinier. Wait, I found a difference. Look at the Magneto rotor. Follow my camera here. The CFMOTO 800 metric tons uses a domestically made rotor. The KTM 790 uses an imported one from Japan. Let's turn it over and look. Now let's turn the CFMOTO 800 metric tons over. Finally, a real difference, right? Alright, now for the bearing shells. CFMOTO uses Daido copper-based bearings from Japan. However, KTM uses a brand I don't actually recognize. My apologies. It's marked with an M and a T. And a T. If any experts know, please tell me. I really don't recognize this brand. But since KTM uses it, it's definitely not bad. Check the connecting rods. Both are from the same supplier, just with different lettering. Both are fracture split rods. These are exactly the same. I even know which factory makes these rods. You can mark these two as equal. Look at the timing chain. The timing chain is also identical. Same specs, same brand. But again, my apologies. I don't recognize the brand. It's marked with CZ. I guess I need to study more. The gear selectors are identical. Another equal sign. The bearings are identical too. These two are both SKF, and these two are both NTN. Another equal sign. The clutch components? No need to say more. They are completely identical. Japanese FCC. Both use the same anodizing process. Look at the clutch hub and plates. Starting to feel like comparing them is pointless? It's basically the same machine. There's a slight difference in the pistons. I specifically bought an old model. CFMOTO 800 metric tons piston. This one here. This piston and the KTM 7901 are exactly the same. Now let's look at this other piston. The one from the engine I just took apart. It's also forged, but the top has micro-arc oxidation. This is better for heat insulation. The skirts are coated with molybdenum disulfide, MOS2. Now look at the KTM 790 piston. Also MOS2 coated. The top is hard anodized. You can research the difference between micro-arc and hard oxidation yourself. So, using this high-quality forged piston isn't really a downgrade. I'd say they are about the same. The piston pin also uses a DLC, diamond-like carbon, coating. The piston specs are also maxed out. The piston rings, however, are different. The 790 and old 800 metric tons pistons were made in Austria. This forged piston is made by Nanjing, and the rings are from Anqing. Anqing PVD-coated rings. These two types of rings are hard to compare directly, since this 800 metric tons I'm tearing down is quite new. From June, the 800NK might likely have the same specs as this engine. Would a KTM 790 from the same period look like this? We'll have to wait for a future teardown to find out. Now for these two camshafts. Can you tell which is KTM 790 and which is CFMOTO 800? Needless to say, they are identical. Of course, this engine does have design flaws. Like the rocker arm issue. Most people probably know about this fault. It seems to be inherited from the KTM 790. I hope the manufacturer improves this. The materials are already so good. Why skimp on a rocker arm? Look at the timing chain. Tensioner. It's hydraulic. European brands like BMW and MV Agusta love using these. To be honest, they don't feel that reliable. Before the oil pressure builds up right after starting, the engine sounds really rough. Alright, thanks for watching patiently. We've finished comparing the major components. The materials in this engine are truly top of the line. Everything you'd want is basically there. The old Model 800MT engine is essentially equal to the KTM 790, and the one I dismantled today. Even though there are hardware changes, there's no cutting corners. The 800NK engine hardware is the same as this. I hope CFMOTO stays strong and doesn't downgrade. One last thing, Brother Chun. Could you lower the price of spare parts a bit in the future?